I know, I'm the real hero. It's Friday, so you know what that means. Let's welcome tonight's guest. If you want to see fireworks, just mention him to his ex-wife, actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. She just got engaged, and she wants you to know it's not Jamie Lissow. Republican strategist Aaron Perini. She's the toast of the town, Jonestown. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, and he uses a volcano as a fondue pot. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA World Champion. All right, fair enough. Before we get to some news stories, let's do this. Yeah,
Greg's Leftovers.
It's Leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't use this week, and as always, it's my first time reading them. So if they suck, we'll dress up Joe Mackey as a visiting angel and send him to the White House. Yeah, it is funny. In an all-staff phone call made to alleviate concerns, President Biden was heard saying, "I'm not leaving." No one was sure if he meant the presidency or this mortal coil called Earth. Don't use that phrase enough. Online conspiracy theorists believe Joe Biden struggled in the debate because he was hit with a directed energy weapon. This is called Havana syndrome, although doctors said it's more likely he was Havana stroke. That was good. Is that my phone? That was funny. Now, if Dems choose to replace Biden, it could come down to Gavin Newsom versus Kamala Harris. Interesting showdown. One candidate screwed most of California, and the other is Gavin Newsom. She put a lot of people in jail. Following the Supreme Court's immunity decision, some worry it would give a president power to assassinate their enemies, which is why the feds have put stares, solid food, and words in protective custody. Because those are his enemies. Stares, right? Words, solid food. See, now it's funny. Keith Olbermann called for CNN to be burned down over their debate moderator's performance. He also called for the execution of the local teens who keep ringing his doorbell and running away. He's an old shut-in. According to a Democrat insider, Joe Biden said he'll concede to a different candidate if he can't change public opinion over the next few weeks. "We don't have that kind of time," said his doctor. According to the New York Times, Biden's debate prep didn't start until 11 a.m., and he took a nap every afternoon. Wow, that's how Jesse preps for the 5. In a new Vanity Fair article, there's a creepy photo appearing to show RFK Jr. preparing to take a bite out of a barbecued dog. He claims it's not a dog, but a goat. "Who gives a I've killed both," said one woman. Yesterday, everyone celebrated the 4th of July. Here in NYC, instead of chalk, police are outlining bodies with ballpark franks. Thank you. A Delta flight from Detroit to Amsterdam had to make an emergency landing after they fed passengers spoiled food. One concerned man asked, "What happened to the rest of the food?" Every time. Every time. Jamie Foxx has finally broken his silence on his mysterious hospitalization last year. Congratulations on his transition. Police in New Zealand are hunting for a 400-pound woman who assaulted a teenage boy with a metal pole while on the bus. Apparently, he threatened her with a small garden salad. And in San Diego, a sea lion charged dozens of beachgoers, terrifying them. So that's why Joy wasn't on The View. All right. Oh, boo yourself. Boo yourself. To the news, is it any wonder why Hunter's advising the big guy? NBC News reports Hunter Biden has been joining White House meetings to stay close to his dad post-debate debacle. It's quite a departure from the meetings Hunter's usually in. You know, the ones that begin with, "You don't have VD, do you?" And "That sore looks contagious." So now Hunter's a political advisor. Why not? He's already a finger painter, amateur pornographer, and an oil and gas expert. Is there anything he can't do besides getting a real job? But it immediately deflates another hoax, that Joe kept his politics apart and away from Hunter Biden. Nope, it turns out Hunter is the go-to guy, not just for his shady finances, but for his political survival. Hunter's presence at meetings has reportedly surprised several top aides who wonder why he's even there. And why won't he close his robe? Those familiar with the matter said the reaction from some senior White House officials has been, "What the hell is happening?" But Hunter's reportedly one of the loudest voices telling Joe to stay in the race. So the future of the free world is right now being influenced by a guy who's done more drugs in a week than Ozzy Osbourne did in the 1980s. Meanwhile, 1 week after the debate, polls show Joe's support is slipping faster than Joe in a puddle of his own urine. A new CNN poll shows that if the election were held today, 49% would vote for Trump and compared to 43% for Biden. So unlike the cast of The View, there's daylight between them. The same poll also shows that 75% of Democrats would fare better with anyone other than Joe as their nominee. With anyone other, including Kanye West, Kim Jong-un, and the cast of Real Housewives of Gary, Indiana.
Oh, wow.
Yay, Gary, Indiana. And this scares Democrats. So think about this for a moment. It's the disastrous polling and not the dying president that terrifies them. The fact is, the only Democrats calling for Joe to step aside are those in danger of losing their elections. The Dems in safe seats, they aren't saying a thing. So it's not about Joe's function, it's his electability and how that will damage their chances. So what's that tell you? That the Dems only pretend to care about the country when their power and not the country itself is in danger. And the country is in danger thanks to a White House helmed by a brainless, confused mess of a man. Now in full damage control, earlier today, the president sat down with ABC's garden gnome, George Stephanopoulos. It's pre-taped, of course, more carefully prepared and planned out than a moon landing. But Joe actually gave Gutfeld a statement before he sat down with George. It's actually our show's first time hearing from him since the debate.
What? Start? Look. Hunter's a great guy, and he knows we can rehabilitate the situation, right? Who knows more about rehab than Hunter? He's done more rehabs than the Property Brothers. And he said, "Pops, you didn't sleep enough, that's all. You need to pick me up. And use my medicine of choice. I left a bag of it in the White House for you." I said, "No, thank you. I don't need it. I don't do the powder, all right?" Wise man once told me, "Don't sniff anything smaller than a teenager's head." And then he was eaten by cannibals.
Damn.
Jamie, it's weird. You and Hunter have a lot in common. He keeps failing up. You keep failing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the audience does not like it when I rip on you, Jamie. It's really pissing me off.
His whole family's here tonight.
Yes! That's why.
They're actually waiting for you at the door.
Yes. Mm-hmm. What do you make of this? He's actually in the White House.
Yeah, I feel like Hunter being part of meetings at the White House is like when the lead singer of a band lets his girlfriend play the tambourine.
Yes.
You know, like you just up there like, yeah.
Yes, that's true. Oh, she's really talented. Give her a chance.
Yeah, Hunter did say he will leave as soon as he finds his cocaine. He left. But yeah, it's just, you know, my favorite thing that you just showed, I had not seen it until we were on the show, where it said, when they were on CNN, the graphic said 25% of people want Biden, and then 75%, it didn't say who they wanted, it just said somebody else.
Yeah.
Like just somebody. Imagine if a girl broke up with you and she was like, I'm seeing someone, and you're like, who? And she's like, I don't know yet. Just not you.
That is so true. So, Aaron, there's all these post-debate polls that has Trump just blowing Biden out of the water. What do you think about, do you think that is going to play any role in this? That they're going to just keep Joe? Because it's going to be Kamala if it's just Joe.
At this point, the decision lies with the president whether or not he remains on the ballot in November. But a lot of that pressure will come in 2 points. One, it will come from those down ballot races. If you are in competitive Senate races, and right now, because of Joe Biden, the map is expanding. New Mexico's on the map now. Virginia's on the map. This is becoming very competitive and very hard for him to sustain. And 2, donors. If people stop giving money, if people say, Joe, we can't support you anymore, we're not going to put the dollar behind you, that is a cataclysmic political failure, as if the debate wasn't enough. So if you are, I ultimately believe that Joe's going to make the decision, and the only people he would actually listen to about whether or not he would stay in the race is his family. He doesn't care about his advisors, doesn't care about the White House team. The only people he would actually listen to, and Hunter is telling him to stay in, guy's not going anywhere at this point.
You know, advisors should tell Joe they are his family.
Just confuse him.
Yes. Hey, it's Vic, your brother. Been a long time. Hey, where's the 10 grand you owe me? Oh, cat. Seems like we've been talking about this forever, and it's only been a week. Doesn't it kind of bug you that the Democrats really only care about the electability? Not that, like, we don't have a president right now?
Yeah, that's politics, baby.
Don't call me baby.
It is. Ew. It is interesting that they think that this pre-taped interview would solve anything. I mean, if it's pre-taped, it doesn't count, right? Like, I have a relationship analogy also, Jamie. Like, let's say that you get cheated on, your girlfriend cheats on you, and then she's like, babe, I'm gonna make a video for you of me not cheating on you. Like, if you're creating it, you can edit it however you want.
Yes.
It's not hard to edit coherent sentences together. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in that debate I'm sure would have been left on the cutting room floor simply because it doesn't make sense to the viewer.
Yeah.
You know, from an editorial perspective, what's going on there? What's he talking about with that? You can't take a disastrous live performance and say, well, we'll show you with a pre-taped interview.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, are we supposed to be dumb?
Well, they're assuming we are.
Yeah.
They've covered this up now for I don't know how long. So, Tyrus, the defenders of Biden keep saying, well, as long as he has important people around him, isn't that saying that it's always been those people in control?
Okay, well, I think what's happened is they've been running their game pretty well. And I'm sure with most things like this historically, it's always a group that's behind that. We can get all our policies. There's so much good we can do, and we can, you know, and they narcissistically virtue signal how they're doing the best for the people, whatever. Then somebody up at the debate. So then the group then decides, oh, that person's got to go. So I'm pretty sure during the meeting while they were scrambling at the Waffle House trying to figure out whose fault this was, Dr. President Jill pulled Hunter off the bench.
Yeah.
I need you to watch them. I need you in the room because they're against us. This is what always happens with these little things. In all history is they always end up having too many people, and then they start to split, and we'll start to see we've already seen the weird. We know we're starting to see the players are revealing themselves by those who stay locked in and those who start going, okay, I want out. So as this goes on, we're going to see more and more people. But Hunter's there to protect the interest of his father and Jill.
Yeah.
So who's the other side?
And he's the rainmaker. Yep. Remember that. It's where the money comes from.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.